Blessings, guys. Here we are, first of all, honouring Mountain Injury, this gubby land that we sit on right now, honouring First Nation people. So here we are in the second episode of Empty, Empty, Happy, Happy, encouraging us to empty, to throw away all the stories, the noise, the commentaries, the narratives that occupy our mind so we can occupy our favourite moment. And what's our favourite moment? This moment now. And then when we're doing that, as it's well known, we're going to be happy, happy. So empty, empty, happy, happy. And for this second episode, I have my dear friend, Wright, who is one of my original students of Zen Tai Shiatsu. And if you don't know what Zen Tai Shiatsu is, it's the combination of osteopathy and Zen Shiatsu and Thai massage, but it's now saturated in community and connection. And one of my friends that was here practicing and learning from me over 20 years ago. But outside of that, Luke Wright is many more than a Zen Tai therapist. He's got a history as a surfboard shaper, an artist, a carpenter, a audio freak. He loves many things that life throws at him. But really, we've got him here today because one of his great gifts is the practice of really listening to another person and really diving into really productive relationships. So that's the topic today. So welcome, Lukey.
Thanks, brother.
How's your day been today?
Good, yeah. Woke up. I didn't get my walk in around the headland because it was pouring rain. So I had to exercise inside, which is not the same. But it was, yeah, fine. Had a good meditate, had some food, had a cup of tea, came here.
So the meditate is a must for you, isn't it? I know.
Yeah, if I don't do a couple of days, I feel it.
Yep.
Everything goes a little bit. I can feel the contraction starting to creep in. And it depends where I am. Obviously, if I'm living in a more natural environment, I don't feel the need as much. But if I'm in the middle of town, then that's when I'm like, okay, there's energies to navigate, essentially. And so if I'm more centered, it's much more easy to navigate everything.
Great.
Yeah.
So we're going to take the listener down through a little bit of a journey of your life in a way. And I love what the Balinese talk about. They talk about the 4 phases of a life. And the first phase is the play phase in the sandpit, 0 to 15, 16, 17, where we're playing and exploring and just having fun. And then we're going to move into the second phase, which I sometimes call this pioneer phase, which is when we go out there into new land and new people and new territory and gain a whole bucket of new skills, which is from that like mid-teens to the 27, where they say you've got to get responsible and knuckle down.
I think my pioneer phase went a bit long.
Yeah. So you may have missed out on the productivity phase. And the third phase is the productivity phase, where they say you're creating a nest now and then putting your skills to play. And then we talk about that last phase, which I am in now, and you're a little bit younger than me, but I feel like you're in this phase as well, of this phase of what I call philosophy, which is the phase of wise counsel. And you'll see at this phase, the people sit beside the creek, the elders come into the village and they offer their wisdom and their insights of a life well lived to support the other people in the village. Yeah. So I feel that's a little thing that you're just so natural at, and that's where I would like the focus of this little talk to be, of how well you do that and how do you do that, because relationships are such a crucial part of life. It's like the anchor of life.
Yeah.
So I'd like to spend some time there. But before we jump into that little bit, let's do a little story into Lukey Wright from 0 to 15 and maybe that part and any little green lights, red lights, some moments in that phase that really stand out for you.
So I grew up with a Baptist chaplain as a grandfather. And my dad rejected that completely.
Wow.
So I went to a Steiner school and I got the chance to find out for myself. in that regard. Whatever inclinations I had, they were supported, or it was talked about. I mean, but there was, there's a lot to navigate in that because, Dad was angry at, his old man, and he didn't know why he was angry, and then his spiritual journey came later. So, and Mum had a father she didn't know, and that led to us going on a family holiday when I was 12. And we went overseas to meet Mum's biological father. And I remember being on a train, and we're all jet lagged. We've been traveling through time zones. We're all very tired. And we got on this train at Leiden Station in the Netherlands. And I remember it. I remembered the name, and I even looked it up to see if it was real, and it wasn't just a childhood memory trick. And it is. And for whatever reason at the time, I didn't cognize the place name as a suburb. Like where I grew up in Surrey Hills in Melbourne, you see Surrey Hills Station, it's a suburb. I didn't, for whatever reason, tired, jet lag, I didn't have that link. And all of a sudden, the word became just symbols. And I had no idea what it meant. And then I immediately extrapolated that to realize that all words are symbols, and I'm telling the meaning of everything. So I'm 12 years old, and it just blew my mind that I'm subscribing the meaning to whatever I'm seeing. It's not objective. It's all subjective.
That's a big insight at 12 years old. He's saying, well, I am the author of life. I am creating it. Yeah.
But you know how it came out in 12-year-old language?
Yeah. As what?
Saying to my whole family, it could mean whoops for all we know. And
great.
Dad giving me this quizzical look. He's like, I think it's time for a sleep.
Yeah, it's great.
And he wasn't wrong, but neither was I.
Yep. Yeah, great moment. And I suppose having the teachings of Rudolf Steiner and a chaplain, a Baptist chaplain as a grandfather around you from day dot.
Yeah.
You're around the mystics, you're around spirituality, it's surrounding you. So.
Well, my chaplain grandfather got kicked out of the Baptist Union because he was widely read and started getting into Cypriot spiritual healers and all sorts of co-creation modalities, Barbara Marx Hubbard and that kind of thing. And so his ideas became much more, I suppose, secular and a bit more inclusive.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then okay, so that's a big moment. And then you've moved from Steiner School graduation, moving this. Yeah. I like to see this pioneer phase that you said that you got stuck in. But yeah, we go out there and
I just had to try everything.
Yeah, it's great. And I know some of them, but I know that you were an actor on some TV shows. You've done carpentry, you've done outdoor education, you've done surfboard shaping, and I've probably only tipping the iceberg there. And in that phase there from 15 to say 30, what are some things that you feel really, I would say, shaped you now?
Well, I think one of the defining moments was walking through a bookstore in Melbourne, and I'd done work in a bookstore. I'd been doing a lot of writing. I'd tried stand-up poetry readings and that kind of thing in Sydney, but Sydney chewed me up and spat me out. And I recovered on a friend's farm in Melbourne on the Mornington Peninsula. And then I'm going through these bookstores with my resumes, and I just stop dead in my tracks because I think, what am I doing? This has got no juice, no life to it. I'm just going to get this job, and it's going to be another 3-month stint like I did in the last bookshop because I enjoyed reading more than I enjoyed selling. And I just stopped, and I thought, no, I cannot make a decision with my mind on this one. And so I tried to, I was very fortunate. I had my auntie's place down in Melbourne, and I was just living in a room there, and I just stopped everything for 2 weeks. And I waited and I just meditated and I went for walks and I was reading surf magazines or reading books and just trying to eat well and just
So when you
not
say-
try and make a decision.
Yeah, so when you stopped in the bookstore, was there a book that made you stop, or
No.
you just stopped?
It was just a moment.
Just a moment, yeah.
Just a moment.
Okay, so
and it just went through my whole body. And it's just like,
Yeah.
in all honesty, the internal monologue was, what the F are you doing? This isn't going to work. It was dry, it was lifeless. And a year prior, you'd called me up and said, I'm running the Zen Tai course. And that's when I was in Sydney. And I said, I can't do it. I've just got this job and I can't come back up. And in that 2-week period, that's what I remembered. And that's when I called you and said, can I, are you doing the course, running the course again? And you said, yes. And the house is free for the month before because we're going away. So you can stay in the house prior to that course. And then I was flicking through a surf magazine and somebody had asked me, what did I love doing as a kid? And I remembered at school, I just loved woodwork. And I loved making things with my hands. And I was flicking through a surfboard magazine and right at the back was the ad for Wegner surfboards and Hollow Construction timber surfboards. And I called him up and said, I want to work for you. And he was 20 minutes up the road. So I packed up the wagon again and drove back up here. And that's in terms of pivotal and what shaped, because now Tom Wegner's a best mate, you're a best mate. And I've worked in those fields since then.
Great.
Yeah.
So you were at Noosa shaping wooden surfboards for some of the week, and here you're hanging out and shaping bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. Learning how.
Yeah, so actually it's a funny thing. We're sitting here in a place, we're talking over 20 years ago now, in a place where I was first teaching Zen Shiatsu in those days. There wasn't Thai massage and osteopathy in it, and Lukey was a very keen eye, and he'd say something and he'd remember it and wouldn't forget it. And this was a teepee. We'd do fire circles in here and talk philosophy, and we'd drink chai over in this little place in front of us and walk across the creek and have some nice little gatherings over there on Thursdays. So that went on for quite some time. So in those early pioneer days in Zen Shiatsu, I can still remember that you were, you were so passionate. You actually joined me at Woodford Festival. I can remember your passion, and did the very first Woodford Festival with me over 25 years ago with two mats. I was on one mat and I was going all day, and him and another guy were sharing the other mat, and they were tag teaming.
Yeah.
And that was an incredible festival, that first one, wasn't it?
That was a baptism of fire.
The baptism of fire.
That was wild. That was wild.
Yeah.
And the physical side of things, I was really keen on, and I kind of got. And then when we did that first festival, I came out at the end, and I was a bedraggled mess. And I went next door, and Gaia had the, clothes stall, and she said, "Lukey, what have you done to yourself? You've taken it all on." And she saged me, and within 10 seconds, and that's when I knew the energetic foundations of what we were doing. That's when I realized that it wasn't all just conceptual knowledge, because in about 10 seconds, I was, the fog was gone, lifted. And then from that point on, how to circulate your energy while you're practicing became just, mandatory. And it's just what happened after that.
Yeah, great moment. And for the listeners there to know that we're talking about Zen Tai Shiatsu, we're talking about body work, I think I was doing 12-hour days, you're probably doing half of that.
Yeah.
And there's lots and lots of energy moving around, and fortunately enough, I'm quite a yang-based personality, but you're the option. You're the yin, and you would take it all on, and that's where those saging things are not just a choice. It actually, they're not optional. You need to go and clean out. And
and you don't necessarily need sage. It worked then. You don't necessarily need sage or Palo Santo to do it, but just psychophysically you can do it. And so I was like, okay, I need to learn that and learn that foundation of it. And that was
So yeah, that's sort of like taking us, I will, into a little sedgeway into, I feel, is an incredible, this innate power within you that I've witnessed over the years of being able to truly listen to what's going on in a physical sense, in an energetic sense, in a psychological sense, in a spiritual sense, and really gauge so much information in a short amount of time of what's happening for the person in front of you. I saw a real gift. I saw that your skill set as far as the body work was just super simple, like you just kept it very zen, very simple, no airy-fairy acrobatic stuff. But the energy that you're picking off in that simplicity was profound. And I would see sometimes, probably I would say nearly 50% of the time, that people will be walking out of your sessions with tears rolling down their face and asking for some sort of counselling. So there's a real, I would say, niche there for you that is just simply an innate thing that comes from you without thinking about it. And I like to bring this up because when I'm teaching therapists, and I've taught therapists for quite some time now, is that I say that relationship is 70%, technique is 30%. So when we talk about relationship being 70%, what would you say would be one or two things to dive into having a really solid relationship with someone, but not being entangled with them?
Okay. Clarity with the relationship with yourself first and foremost. So listening to everything is on the backbone of being able to listen to yourself. And listening to yourself and your internal happenings like you're listening to the rain on the roof. You're not getting entangled in the physical ick, the emotional wave, the disparate thought. They're all happening, and that's fine.
But you're in a witness.
You're a witness.
You're
of
a
all
witness
of that.
phase.
Yeah. So that for me is completely foundational, and working with that, and that's a muscle like anything else, and it takes practice.
So you're doing your time outside of the mat, outside of the relationship. You're doing the time on yourself. And then in the interaction itself.
In the interaction, they are you. So the process is exactly the same, and you can hear underneath what's presenting, what the words might say. Because more often than not, the words are saying one thing and the energy is saying something else. Because that's why they're there. Because there's conflict between the two.
And you're feeling that in your body, really.
Yeah.
I like you to say, because they are you. There's this great word that I was talking about with students recently called Ubuntu. I am because you are. And then we're going, okay, I am because you are. So then we're into, okay, I'm feeling in my body what's going on in your body right now. And that's where I think maybe that sage was important, because you're feeling lots of stuff.
Yeah. And I don't know whether that empathy side of things, I'm an Aquarian. I was always a hypersensitive kid. And then I switched that off for a period, and then it became, no, this is actually who I am. As long as my boundaries are good, my energetic boundaries and how I manage those, then I can be around all sorts of environments. And I don't switch myself off. It can all keep happening, but I don't take it on.
Yeah, I hear that. It's great. I hear that. It's really important that you know it's happening, but you're consciously deciding not to feed off that.
Make it conscious. Make it conscious. Make it conscious. Make it conscious again. Make it conscious again.
I'm really loving this here. I feel like you're touching base with this Balinese, again, another Balinese cosmology, like baseline understanding that all Balinese people have, which is called Tri Hita Karuna, is that we have three important relationships. We have relationships with the earth, And look where we are right now, a harmonious relationship with the earth. When I think about the relationship with the earth, I'm also talking about the relationship we have with our body. Like you said, we're working and moving, we're being conscious of the food that we're having, we're conscious of the way that we walk, so we're conscious about the physical realm that we're doing this life in.
Yeah.
The relationship that we have with, they call it divine or source, or you could say your verticality, which is what you're touching base with. When I hear you listening to something like sounds on the roof, and then having from those two anchors, then we have these great relationships with each other, which is the relationship with the Sangha, which is empowered by the two before them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really hear that's a powerful way to be in powerful relationships with each other.
Yeah.
So when we have these relationships with the people that are going through which is happening right now, I'm seeing that the mental health pandemic is on a rise, and you're having a relationship with someone really, really, really struggling and wants to be fixed. Have you got any things that you use to do that? I see that you're quite subtle and tactile with that.
I think it depends on the client. You know, I kind of have clients that are best friends, and I can get strong because they know me, I know them really well, and I can call them out. You know, like a good friend does, essentially, if they're talking story. But when it comes to, you know, getting to know people in maybe a more therapeutic setting, then I think the most important thing, for one, to start again, is listening. And it's like in Zen Tai. The healing is innate, right? I might be a catalyst because of the pressure that I'm putting on a particular area, but the body wants to do it. And it's the same with the psychophysics and the spirit. It's there for them. And so what usually happens for me is I feel the right question come. And then I just ask that question.
Yep.
And
More of a question than an answer.
totally. I'm not telling people who they are. No way. So and this is how it started when, you know, I was treating back in Melbourne, and it wasn't a large client base. It was a small client base, and I could spend more time with them. And rather than moving straight into the body work, that whole questioning period that started, you know, each treatment, that just naturally became longer. And what would happen is exactly that. I'd ask the right question, and their whole psychophysics and their energy would change. They'd have the insight into themselves, and why they were there would shift. And then the body work became about cementing the new pathways rather than using it to find out what was the case.
It's great.
Yeah.
I really hear that. You said something a little earlier about you don't invest too much in the story, but you want to hear the story. So I like this idea that I've been playing with for a good probably 10 years now, is that yes, we're interested in the story, but sometimes if we get too deep into the story, it can be like we keep digging into a dark well. And that might be fun and might be dramatic and it might be interesting, but it also can be a bit of a place that you get lured into and there's nothing happening there.
Well, it keeps you in the me. Right? It keeps you as me, and this is happening to me, and this is my story. And the freedom that you're seeking is well beyond that.
I like this idea. I'd like to hear your concept, and is that sometimes for me personally, when there's a lot of that going on, I will sometimes say, let's just do the body work, because even though we're not doing this verbal dialogue, I'm not moving into their headspace, I'm into the body with it.
Right.
And then at the end of it,
you bypass.
we bypass, and they go, well, actually, what I was going to talk about doesn't really matter anymore. It feels like my tissues worked it out. So sometimes we've got to be careful of, you know, can we get caught there in this mental space where it could easily work itself out in the soma if you're listening.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I like what you say, like let's just pay attention to the body with our hands, ask some good questions, and do the same thing to the psyche, pay attention to what's needed and ask some good questions.
Yeah. And also in that therapeutic sense, if there isn't body work going to be involved,
Yeah.
then I'm also watching them and reading them physically, and they'll feel an area and I can see them feeling that area and I can ask what was that about, and that takes them into their tissues. Or
Exactly.
I would ask them to breathe into your lower back,
Yep.
breathe into your dantian.
Yep.
We're going to do that for 3 minutes.
Yep.
And bypasses that getting caught.
Yep.
Yeah.
I hear that. I want to move into a little other, like this little next chapter, which we've spoken about before, which is the pioneer phase. We're exploring new territory, new lands, into this productivity phase, which is now I'm creating the nest. And as you said, your pioneer phase went for a long time.
My mum called it a portfolio career. And she was a career advisor, so I took that as, it was fine. It was
like
fine.
that.
I was just doing all the things.
I think that the listeners would really appreciate a little bit, because I'm not just talking about bodywork and Zantai here. I'm talking about anyone involved in the arts, where yoga teaching, musicians, all these creative arts really come from a really soulful, heart-filled place. And how do we make these arts productive? One of the things that come back to me all the time is say, oh, how did you do it to make it work for you? How did my vocation or my vacation become my vocation, and these sorts of things? How do I make what I love also be my business, if you like? And I don't know about you, but I usually can dissect it into 3 separate areas. There's some people that are just like grinders, and I'm like that. I've just got my sharp arrow and I'm just going to keep grinding and doing hours. I'm going to do markets, I'm going to do festivals, I'm going to do teaching, I'm going to keep grinding, and there's not a way that it's not going to work. And then there's the other people I see in this work that actually, a little bit like you did, they get a second career, like a surfboard shaping or a carpentry, and they bounce, or it could be yoga teaching or a PT trainer, and they bounce between 2 or 3 separate jobs, and one feeds the other, and I've seen that work really well. And then there's another group I feel that do a really good job when they leave. They put the little practice in their back pocket, but it becomes something that they don't do enough, and they may have waves in it. But because they don't do it enough, they never get really solid with it, and it starts to slowly fade out the back door, and then 5 years it's sort of like something that they did but they don't do anymore. So there's like the 3 groups of people that I see doing it, and I know that you've probably played with each of those.
I have, yeah.
So anything that you feel like some challenges in that, and any words of advice in that? Because like, we don't want the money to rule the roost, but at the same thing, we've got to put petrol in our car.
Yeah. And we've got to pay more for it at the moment. It's an interesting, I've been working with this recently because I don't have children, and children are a privilege, and not having children is a privilege. And so with that comes a certain amount of freedom. And I was always kind of naturally gifted at things. So that work ethic grind wasn't necessarily my story. If I found something I was passionate about, just try and stop me. I'm into it, and it had to be a creative project. So I had to work out what my strengths and my weaknesses were. And if I knew I wasn't going to be grinded out, then the second vocation was very helpful. And the woodwork side of things and the bodywork side of things have played off each other, and they've worked. Or the band management, or the surfboard making, or what didn't work was becoming an installation artist and doing a diploma of his arts, and because there was no money obviously in that. So, but even in the 2 years that I took off Zentai while I went and did art and really explored my creativity, I always knew that the Zentai was going to come back round. And rather than keep going with it up here on the Sunshine Coast, that's when I took it to Melbourne. And that's when setting it up in Melbourne became part of the purpose with it in some sense. It could grow, it could expand. I wasn't necessarily just a practitioner because I needed to feel that evolution factor to it somehow. And so that's what could happen in Melbourne. So moving back to Melbourne, that's what happened in those 10 years. And
So you were a little bit like the pioneer of the whole Zentai Melbourne in Victoria, really.
Yeah.
You're the one that initiated that, got Sally Meredith, and the whole Zentai movement in Melbourne started from you. So
yeah,
thank you for that. Yeah,
not at all.
And
It was
and
a
and
joy.
you did really well. I watched you of bouncing between those two occupations for not just a couple of years. I think maybe 10 years that you were
Yeah.
bouncing between two jobs.
Yeah.
And they were both feeding off each other. Yeah, and then it's great. And more recently, I've seen that meditation become such a passion for you, and you really, I've seen you just like, why don't more people meditate? What is that?
Well, that's what, I mean, because I've now stepped away from Zentai.
Yep.
I taught the first, 9-month course with Sally in Melbourne in 2019. And I drove away from the student clinic and I knew I was done.
Yep.
And people are like, dude, you're so good at it. What are you doing? Like, well, you could be teaching this, etc. But I wanted to give people the tools in the spiritual, mental, emotional field so that they could do it for themselves.
Yep.
And not necessarily have to come and see me.
Yep.
And also, I mean, in Ayurvedic terms, I'm kapha. I'm moving more into that kapha phase. I'm pitta kapha, and that that drive, that pitta, is starting to wane. The kapha is starting to take over. The yin, my natural disposition, is starting to take over. So I need to remember to move.
Yeah.
That's my that's my calling. Just move.
Yeah.
It'll work it out.
It's great.
But the meditation side of things and giving people those tools so that they can have the insight into themselves and therefore the insight into any of the situations that are going to come, because they're always going to come. And I think with insight into yourself, I think of it as my tool belt, and I now in my tool belt have, and it's not heavy, but I can grab anything, and I've felt this situation. I know what this situation can bring. I've felt this situation. I know what it can bring. I'm still curious. I'm not assuming I know what it is. I'm not assuming any outcome. But the familiarity means that I'm at peace in working with it.
So if there was a busy mind out there that was a little reluctant to begin a meditation practice, what would you say to that person to try and lure them in, like a one-liner to the person that, like, you know what, I'm too busy to meditate. How do I? Because the consistency is so important.
It is, yeah. So, I've spent the last 5 years writing a book, and it's getting there. It's getting there. It's great. I'm really loving it. But, I spend time on the tools, and then I'll write for 2 months, and then I'll spend time on the tools. So I don't actually say in the book, I give a shout out to meditation in a particular form, but the practices that I suggest start with sit down, close your eyes, and breathe.
Yep.
I don't call it this thing that comes with baggage.
Yep.
So it's a it's a tangible thing
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense to an everyday mind.
Yep.
Just sit down
Yep.
and just close your eyes.
Yep.
And then just breathe.
Just breathe. So you're moving from your head, and that breath gets you into your body.
Yep.
It's great, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a stillness involved as well, because sometimes I see people can be moving, a moving meditation, but when you're moving, it's a lot more difficult because there's a lot more distraction.
Yep.
So
for sure.
I like the idea that of you making two commitments, that we're committing to be still, and then the other commitment, can we start to pay attention to something outside of the world of thinking?
Yep.
And then watching thoughts come, watching them go, but is there something outside of that we can pay attention to? And
Because that's ultimately the discipline. What
That's
you're
a-
doing with your attention,
Yep.
that defines
Yep.
everything.
And there's a quietness there, and that's that centering, which,
And if it's too much too soon,
yep,
go for a walk, go for a run,
Yep, yep.
do a yoga session, do whatever it is.
move the tension
Move
first.
the tension first,
Yep.
and then sit down and
That's
close your
quite,
eyes
yeah.
and breathe.
I know that definitely works for me. As you know, I'm a very go-getter, active yang. I've
Yeah.
got to get my body moving first thing,
Yeah.
and then I can do some breath work, and then I can sit. But if I'm not doing it consistently, it doesn't have its power.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. It's got to be, like you said before, it's a muscle that you got to go to the gym and work with. And if you don't, the mind will just, like you say, the mind will be the thing that calls all the shots. And like they say, it's the mind and the mind alone, as Rinpoche says, is that will imprison you or set you free.
Yeah, it's the dog walking you, rather than you walking the dog. And
So that's great.
yeah,
I want to go tap in or tap out, I should say, and like I really like this productivity phase, and now you're moving into this wiser counsel, and I really highly recommend, if people in the local area, if they want to tap into some real depth in a healing sense of the mind, and getting people out of, I would say, loops, that you'd be a great person to spend some time with. But if we go into finalising this little chat, the first question I'd like to say is any little tricks or any little suggestions of how to deepen the relationship that we have with each other, how we deepen those relationships.
I was saying, I was saying to a mate the other day, because in that pioneer phase, my glue has always been relationship.
Yep.
It hasn't been money or security
Exactly.
or
Yep.
anything like that.
What a great thing.
And
yeah.
so my
That's your legacy.
and people worry about that for me. What are you going to do? And I just came out with it. I said, my friends are my superannuation.
I like that. My friends. That's great.
And I could ask any of half a dozen, I need a place to stay for a month.
It's great.
And they would say, bro, come.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not that I need to or want to, but that's how I think about it.
That's such a beautiful thing. I really want to just sit on that. That we just, we're so driven for money and houses and cars and finances and the job that we love. And what about friends?
Yeah,
and how I know that is such a crucial link for you. I know, or if I ever say to you, let's get together and have a coffee, that you'll go, when we're meeting?
Yeah.
What time?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what a great reminder that
Putting the tools down, I'm coming.
friendship is the superannuation. I love that. It's when you're, I think I always say that it's called sometimes the eulogy resume is you're focusing on on that. That's the resume, is that when that eulogy's happening, my friends are going, yep, on the top of the pile of your priorities were your friends.
Yeah. Having said that, just recently, because it's always just been good enough to have enough to get by for me. And now, obviously there's that whole new age abundance phase, and I had plenty of reaction to that because so much can get co-opted by the ego into what it wants. But now I've felt it click over and go, oh, it's okay, I can have more than enough now, because then I can help people too.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because then I can be that person that somebody can come to, and for, physical resources, and I can help them out.
Yeah.
I want that. Great, I can do that.
Yeah,
you know?
you've got a surplus of energy that overflows.
Yeah.
That's always been a great driving force for me. I want have enough energy that I can support the village. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Which
so
you've
it's
done
overflow.
with
Yeah,
absolute grace.
yeah. Well, it's been a great gift, and I, thank you to the Great Spirit that has been a great support for me on that. And
Yeah.
yeah, awesome. You've obviously seen the Zentai grow. Like I said, this is from a little teepee that 12 of us sat in this little space here around fire and
Yeah.
talking philosophy, which we're doing now.
It's beautiful property.
and to seeing, the massive movements happening around the world because people are crying out for community. They're crying out for
That
connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
And coming back to the empty, happy, I like to just say, like, because I know that you seem to be a person that, especially these days, because I won't say it was always the case. I saw some relationships really rock you when you were younger.
Oh yeah.
And because you really took, as far as one-on-one, your girlfriends, that really took you down big time. And you spent, I think, 6 weeks in Jasri one time recovering from a broken heart, and maybe 6 months another time in Melbourne, really, really burnt from a relationship that went the opposite way with a lover partner. So nowadays I see you so centered, and obviously you still have relationships, you have great people, but you definitely a lot less provoked. You're a lot more empty. And is that just happened through experience? or you got any real skill sets?
It happened because I sat down with myself after a relationship that had all the hallmarks of, forever, lifetime vibes, as I call them. And that ending, and there was this, there's this compulsion to, I just need to talk to them one more time to find out, and to get some clarity, and and me meditating enough to see that was a story. It's not about them.
Ownership. Yeah.
And I sat down in my little studio in Melbourne, and I just said, I'm not moving until I know what this is.
What's the lesson for you in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't pretty.
Yeah, you had to really had to really put the mirror. Yeah, I can still feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in amongst it was total harrowing grief. And separation, and then this love. Even in this, I'm here, were the words that I heard. Even in this, I'm here. And my mind just didn't understand that paradox, but that was the process for my whole being to be able to hold something so destroying and destructive on one hand, and the soul awareness on the other hand, and it all being part of the whole.
Yeah.
And since that time, and then obviously spending time sitting with that source of love, sitting with that, even in this, I'm here.
Yeah. I really hear that.
Because the story of me is the story of separation.
Yeah.
I'm,
Yep.
I'm me is an assumption in and of itself. It's a story.
And it's an illusion.
It's an illusion.
Yeah.
And so that was the process to fuse the paradox and know that on an experiential level. It can't be just conceptual.
Yep.
It has to be embodied.
Yep.
And for that to be the case, since then, whatever relationship I've gone into, I've can give my heart freely.
So what I'm hearing is that
But I'm already free.
you are giving your heart, you're free, but it's also within that, the part of you that you've touched base with in these deep soul-destroying moments or
Yeah.
really hard moments is so solid now.
Oh, it's untouchable.
So it's sort of like it's out of the world of grasping and pushing away because it's full ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Total
Yeah.
accountability.
Yeah, I think it's something that I've been admiring for you for a long time is that, you know, when we're going through those really heavy hitters, you know, whether it could be a person walking out the front door that you're really completely in love with, or it's a loss of a job, or you know, just, or even sometimes a physical injury, is that, you know what?
Yeah.
This is really easy for me right now to blame it on someone, or blame it on something, or blame it on the moment, or blame it on the circumstance. But that doesn't do anything. I'm going to take full ownership for this.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do, because this is myself being reflected back into me of some changes that need to make, some changes that I need to make. And then that's where the growth is. So that's a courageous thing to do. And I know that we all struggle with that. Is much easier to project and a lot more tricky and more sometimes heavy to really, like I heard the emotion in your voice before.
Yeah.
This is my stuff I'm looking at right now.
Yeah. And the resolution of, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be this person
Great.
anymore.
The identity's gone.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't want to be the person that's holding anger. I don't want to be the person that's projecting as soon as I get into a hard situation.
Yep.
I don't want to be the person that is triggered.
Yep.
What is, you know,
Right.
I don't want to be that susceptible, because life is going to keep bringing that to your door.
Until you let it go.
Until you
empty it.
Until you empty it. Until you open the door and you bring them in
love it.
and you all sit down at the table and you let them have their say, and you got to sit there and listen to all of them.
Yeah. Then they do it out, and then the noise isn't occupying your space anymore, and you're free.
Let's move through.
Yeah.
Empty bamboo.
What a great way to finish the podcast on empty. That the noise is gone, the empty, and then we're sitting in this happy, free space. So, thank you, Lukey. Awesome to spend the little moment in time in this meditation hut. I feel it's probably meant for you to sit in.
Yeah.
And have a wonderful day. Empty, happy. Enjoy yourselves.
At the end of the day, we give thanks and pray for all the blessings that have come.